I believe that we have started to equate having healed with having achieved. And we measure how much we've healed by how much we've been able to achieve for ourselves because we've healed. And I guess this may be stemming from the fact that we realized that we couldn't really achieve a lot of things because there were so many underlying things and fears and traumas and wounds getting in the way. So of course, when we're thinking about let's clear everything out, let's do the work, then we'd expect a life to reflect that healing. But the measurements that we use for each system are totally different. Because if we've healed so much of what was torturing us and now we have inner peace, we don't necessarily strive to achieve the life that we would think we would need before so that we can feel peaceful. Maybe there's some different changes that happen within us that have us no longer pursue the things that we thought we needed before in order to be happy, in order to feel peace, in order to find fulfillment, in order to feel worthy. Because the system that we're using, the external system, is what, right? Money, success, whether you have a relationship, whether you have a great relationship, whether you have, I don't know, the dream life that you've imagined before, right? When you were all alone, broken, tortured, you had this fantasy, right? This sort of different life that would come, and that life would be so magnificent and so perfect. And suddenly that life would feel like you're somebody who's finally loved and who is lovable and who is worthy and all of that. But we've created those dreams and fantasies, which was just like counter fantasies to the horrible experiences of feeling humiliated, not appreciated, unloved, right? We created this immense fantasy. Oh, I'm going to go on and be super loved. If I'm humiliated, I'm going to go on and be super admired. If I'm this, I'm going to like, so, right? So we created a very, very opposing fantasy. And then we're doing our healing work and we're like, why isn't this fantasy coming true for me? Why don't I get these things that I was dreaming about back when I was wounded? Why do I see everybody else have them and I don't? And somebody would say to you, somebody whose lens is only clear manifestation would say, well, you're doing something wrong. Maybe you're too desperate. For some reason, manifestation doesn't want you to really want the things that you want because then you're coming off as desperate. Gosh, I wonder who came up with that as a notion, because it just sounds so appalling to me to say to someone, oh, the thing that you want because you want it too much doesn't want you. It just sounds so childlike, attached to things that are just problematic. But I'll talk about manifestation in another video. But I guess someone who was just looking at it through that lens would say, you're appalling to that thing because you want it too much. And that thing doesn't want to come to you because you really want it, I guess. Or they would say, oh, you need this manifestation technique. Or there's blocks. So you have to talk to your inner guides. Oh, you have to. Which could make sense in terms of manifestation. But I'll tell you a thing that I've been noticing in the people that I work with and myself, in the world in general, that we can go ahead and continue to try and pursue those things. But every time we get them, they will never be enough. We will constantly want better than what we have. And that is partly our human nature, but also it can partly be our sense of not feeling contentment with where we are. But of course, when we live in a system that prioritizes success and doing better and not staying stagnant and not being fulfilled with just bare minimum, you could have so much more, we will be affected by that, right? And we would think, I should want more. Why don't I have more? But maybe having more is just entering you, or wanting more is just putting you back on an endless pursuit of things. This time, not the same type of way that you were pursuing when you were sad and miserable, but now that you're successful or happy or in a good relationship, you're suddenly fixated on the next thing that you need to materialize in your life. And my invitation today, the thoughts that I wanted to share, are to get you to think that maybe just you continuously pursuing things is still you in that same place that you've been before, just now you're calling it something else. So before you were just miserable and traumatized, now you're just manifesting and don't know how to crack the code of manifesting. But when maybe you're being sort of summoned in your own system to rediscover what it is that you truly want. And to be brave enough to see that maybe what you truly, truly and deeply want is not the thing that looks good on the outside, or it's not aligned with the fantasy that you thought would fulfill you, or more specifically, it's not the thing that everybody else has, which means by comparison, you're not where they are. Are you content with that? Are you content to even consider that maybe the life that you've been aspiring to create with the mindset of the person that you've been all these years is not the life that's going to bring fulfillment, not only to that person, but to who you're becoming as you're healing? Because as you're healing, we would be expecting that you would ground yourself so deeply in your sense of worth, and you would find ways to come back to present moment, to enjoy your life more, to be more grateful, because everything just feels different. Which means you wouldn't want all those extra things to make you happy. Some people would call that a little bit more towards the enlightenment side of things. But I feel like the way we are trying to portray healing with manifesting a life I dreamt of, for most people, when we manifest the life that we dreamt of, we do not find what we thought we'd find in that life, which is basically what we wanted is a perfect and easy life with no struggles, no pain, because we have this fantasy attached to this outcome. So really, when we come to this life and then something else happens, we're like, oh no, now I have to try and do this, and I have to make this perfect. I have to make the universe work for me. And by saying that, we just mean I just want to live a life with no difficulties, no challenges, no things that aren't controlled. And I think I've said this before, but our obsession with manifestation, specific manifestation, is rooted in our intentional drive to control. To control because we want to control, because we want to predict, because we want to be safe. So to battle the unsafety of life, we're like, never again. I will design a life and I'll walk right into that life, and then I'm going to be miserably content with that life because now I have everything I want. And this isn't to say that manifesting is bad, but I feel like the way we've connected it with the healing process so early on can have us do things and strive for things and obsess over things that oppose really the whole idea of what healing is. In the way that I see it, in the way that I work with the people that come to me wanting to create something new, I always say that the first thing that we have to do is do the healing work without the goal setting of what will I have externally to prove to me that I've done the healing work in the sense of successes. But maybe what I will see as a good sort of like feedback that I've done the healing work is, let me look at my life. Do I still have the same relationships? Am I still in the same spot? Do I feel the same way on the daily? Am I able to do this? What has changed in me, kind of thing? Which of course are not tangible. Like you can't really measure these changes like you would measure a bank account or a following count or whatever type of thing that we could measure, right? Which is why healing on its own, for the sake of doing it, doesn't sell as much as it would sell to say, come and I'll help you manifest your dream partner. I mean, especially with those things, what I try to do with people who come and work with me, especially if they're women, is to get them to open up and see everything for what it is, and to really realize if what they're really seeking in their life right now is a partner, or that they have a beautiful open path in front of them to create any life they want without constricting themselves with what society has told us we're supposed to be doing: having the kids, marrying the man, doing this, doing the other. Because really, I guess healing to me gives us the freedom to be who we are and to be okay with it at any point of our lives. And even though we're striving to work towards things, we're working towards things that are really meaningful to us, things that we really want and truly desire, not the things that we want so that we are not left out of the things that others have. And we want to be like others, we want to look like others, and we want to feel like others. All of these others, I'm talking about the people we don't live their lives, right? We just watch snippets of those lives, and we anticipate that if we had those moments, we would feel a certain way. And again, this is where manifestation would tell us, by the way, I know so much about manifestation. I'm not saying it's a bad thing, but I'm really trying to get people to understand that bringing in manifestation as the tool to get you out of trauma will often result to you being on just the same hamster wheel of even a bigger one. For example, blaming yourself for not being able to do things, feeling ashamed for wanting something too much, pretending you don't want it, imagining lives that don't exist, obsessing over them, living as if all of these things coming from a background of dissociation, limerence, PTSD, trauma, unsafety, get you to go from one place to the next, and in both places you're pursuing something that is never coming, or you have to try really hard for it to come. And I guess this sweet spot that I try to teach people, and when I work with them, I try to get them to not be like black or white, but it's just finding that middle ground when you can accept not only what was, right? Because all of the work that we do with our past is to get us to accept what happened, no longer argue with the past. Ground ourselves in the present, see what about the present we want to change and work towards. But at the same time, accept that this is where we are. And then through where we are and with the maturity that we've accumulated through doing the healing work, through grieving, through not being in denial, through becoming a mature adult that is finally able to look at life instead of staring at their parents, hoping to be getting that love from them. From there onwards, we can strive for a different life. But somebody super traumatized, neglected, and unloved will fantasize to manifest a loving partner in order to resolve feeling unloved in their childhood. Which, okay, on paper, maybe you're like, yeah, why not? Sounds like an easy solution. But we all know that within those situations, we can first of all fall prey to so many things that can happen to us. But also that fantasy is not something other people can truly fulfill for us. And even if they do, we have not grown. We have not outgrown that unloved child we were. We just found a parent that we now call a partner that gives us to us, which is why when we are in relationships coming from those places, we massively regress, right? We become kids again, and it feels so helpless because now we're attached to this person. We don't want them to ever leave us because what happens if they do, right? We're like, oh my gosh, I can't even imagine my life without them. All of a sudden, they become our safety into an unsafe world. Because in that whole process, we didn't find safety within. Safety in loneliness or aloneness, safety in just being, safety in the presence, safety in acceptance, safety in no longer arguing with anything, past, present, or future, having glimpses of just living our lives. And I know this may sound a little bit too out there for some people in the sense that, yeah, but I want money. Yeah, but I want a better job. Yeah, but I want... And all of these things are going to be materializing in one way or the next, but maybe not to the extent that you thought they would, because that's not really what would give you happiness. But yet the process of you feeling better about who you are, accepting yourself and knowing your worth will slowly and surely drive you to create a different life. And a life that really matches who you are and not like a determined life that everybody has. Because so many people will say to you, I got the car, I got the wife, I got the husband, I got the job, I got the money in the bank, I got the body, I got it all, and I still feel, right? Because we're trying to get the external stuff so that we can alter the internal stuff, which is the definition of everything that we try to do to feel better when we're trying to find addictions or things that we ingest or achieve or do externally to get some mirroring from the outside world that says, hey, you're doing great, look at you. And you're like, everybody's saying I'm doing great, I feel horrible. You can't really appreciate it. And also it's also a very confusing space to be, because you're like, now what do I strive for? I got it all. Why do I still feel so insecure, so afraid, so unworthy, so this, so that? First of all, there's not going to be a place in our lives where bliss eternally, lasts. And we are always happy and feeling great and safe and all of that, because life is life, right? Eckhart Tolle always says this phrase like, life is never going to leave you alone, right? Like you're not going to get away from things that are going to happen. But at the same time, the whole process of doing the external things to alter the internal things is what is pushing us to a place where we're like, I've done everything and nothing brings me joy. But really, we've done everything to earn those things that we still don't feel enough for, because in the process of trying to earn them, we thought, if I get them, I'll finally feel worthy and good enough. When the process of getting all of that changed within you is not based on external feedback. The external feedback will come later and reflect a lot of that. But the main work is internal. Just like being chosen by someone will not make you feel worthy, no matter how much they choose you and how much they try to get you to see that they chose you. You'll always feel like they have to be out of their mind. Something is wrong with them, and possibly sabotage that. So the worth that we are trying to get the world to mirror to us so that we can believe that we're worthy will never be enough, because we don't believe it. We may have thoughts like, yeah, look at that. But then we'll feel like more like a failure. We feel like we're not doing enough. It's just because they don't know us. It's a matter of time before whatever this changes, right? So there's a lot of work to be done in the now. And I feel like we are really deviating from that work and entering in this commercialized style of, I have it all, and I'm very happy because I have it all, but I'm not genuinely happy, and I don't know what's going on with me. I don't feel joy. I don't have access to joy. And it gets harder and harder for me to access joy, and I think I have to make another million, or I have to do something else. I have to buy something more expensive, and I have to. And it's always this pursuit. What else can I bring into my reality to make me feel good about the being that I am, or I'm avoiding to see that I am, and to make me feel good in the experience of me? There's something really beautiful about committing yourself to doing the work. And as someone who does all of this with the sole intention, not only to find ourselves in our authenticity, but also to break down anything that wasn't yours, almost like re-owning your experience, redeciding what you believe in, what you want. It's just all of this brainwash that was done to you, not just by your parents, by your societies, your religious institutions, just everything. The life that we live in is just so heavily indoctrinating us to live a life that many of us do not even want. But of course, if everybody's living it, we want it too. And then we all measure ourselves with how much we've succeeded in comparison to others that are possibly successful in having done the things, but not necessarily successful in feeling good in general, right? It's like those milestones that have been attached to life and success have now been transferred onto healing. And people are measuring how well they heal with how much they've been able to manifest. And that's very sad. That's very sad to see. But the beauty of the inner work is that when we're able to really stick with what really happens and to really meet ourselves and to really remember ourselves and to really love ourselves, is that there is a point that we don't operate our lives constantly on longing the next thing, right? This new thing that is going to come in and makes us feel better. And there's a point where if we're feeling very sad or very happy, it doesn't even matter, because feelings are just big experiences that we can hold within, and we don't run away from discomfort or pain or happiness or love. Like, we just don't run away anymore. We're more receptive, we're more open, and we're more present in what is and okay with whatever is, without trying to alter our realities, our perceptions, our minds, all of it, in order to change the reflection that we see in the mirror. We start seeing within, and we cultivate things within, and then allow for those things to then express and show up, and also let these things take us where they would have taken us intuitively, right? I'm noticing a lot with the people that I do mentorship with. At some point, it's not like a one-off session. It's just people who work with me on a 3 or a 6 month container. And I've noticed that in the beginning, and it was like interesting to see, right? Always in my work, I tried to address the big events, the big emotional events, and the big wounds with parents and worth and stuff. And towards the end of these sessions, every single one of these people has come up with some creative expression of themselves that they used to do or always wanted to do, but somehow cannot do it. And this is without me even mentioning that, right? But it just starts showing up. They're either an artist, they either want to create something really amazing that they've decided they want to do. They are a painter, or they're starting to feel this curiosity to change the life that they've been pushed in, right? Like, oh, well, you have to grow up and become this, and then they become all this, and now they're like, I'm going to shutter all of this down. Obviously not from the day to the next, because I coach them through that too. I don't want anybody to take leaps that put them in unsafety, but I see this thirst for life, that they're like, there's so many other things I want to do, and I want to explore it, and I want to try. And so all of these curiosities and intuitions and things that we have affinity for, and our gifts are naturally going to show up as we're doing the work. And they're going to be needing you to just follow them and work with them a little bit and offer them some space, and then see where they take you. But, usually we try to put it from, oh, I just found out I'm really good at this. Now, next month, how do I make 10K a year? No, sorry, a day. Right? With this new thing. When it's like, wait a minute, relax. Start being curious with it. Work on your craft. Learn it. Be good at it. And then put it out in the world. And then put the social comparisons of what needs to be done in order to make X amount of money or X amount of success, right? In the meantime, maybe you're going to have to be working at a really crappy job for some time to sustain you, right? I remember at some point I took off from doing therapy, and I wanted to get some new education, and I just wanted to learn new things, and I just wanted out of using my brain for anybody for some times besides learning. And so I had these jobs in this period of my life, which were horrible jobs. I absolutely loathed. And I always wanted it to be like night jobs, because I wanted the morning, and always morning for me is my most important time of day. And I try to do the most important things that I want to do in the morning. And I was doing these jobs like, hostess in places, or, just random things that would, or receptionist. Do you know what I mean? Like, I wasn't using my brain for nothing besides trying to be kind all day to strangers, which it did take quite a brain power. But what I'm trying to say is that I was doing that, and I remember a friend then asked me, why are you doing this to yourself? Like, you could be doing so many things. Why? I said, I'm going to be doing those things, just not now. I have a plan. Now I need the time to get some more things and learn some more things and to work through some stuff, and then I'll do it. And right after ending those cycles of those types of jobs, life just started happening differently. And very soon after, I started creating content online, and all of the thoughts and all of the learnings and all of the things sort of like just happened to come to me, and just, formulated together in an idea. And then I started seeing the clients, and then everything just took me somewhere. And that's what usually happens, right? We have to make some things happen ourselves, but some of these things need their time to be sort of created, and not always put into under the constraints of what you need to be making so much, or you need to achieve this, or you need, when you don't. You just need to feel good in your experience. You need to find some type of fulfillment and drive and vision in your life. And you need to stop living in your past, right? So all of that presence and all that sense of fulfillment cultivates more gratitude, then things get better in other areas, but maybe not in the milestoney, hardcore type of way you see it happen externally, but maybe it will happen at your pace, at your time. And I know life is not that long. Life is generally short, but pressing yourself to reach milestones of others that, again, maybe you don't even want, but also milestones that you will self-impose, because if you're coming from trauma, you probably impose things that are quite unattainable, as you always do. Sometimes it's just going to get in the way of you actually doing this, whatever it is that you're doing, the next step, in actual flow and alignment with what it is that you could be doing or meant to be doing, and how much you're enjoying it, right? I have this client who she was really good at marketing and all of that. And then doing the work together, she began to paint, and suddenly she paints, and suddenly she's making money with painting, and suddenly like all these things are transitioning. And the first thing I said to her, not the first, like one of the things that I said to her, I want her to keep in mind is hold on to that other job for as long as you can before you try to turn what you love into a job and a survival sort of thing. Because when it's interlinked with that, it might affect and infect the process of creation, right? Too soon, like bringing these societies over sort of overly materialistic sort of ideas into something that's as beautiful as art, or wanting to share or wanting to help people, can really injure the art. So we need some time. These transitions need time. And I know some people tell you otherwise, and feel free to follow whichever advice makes more sense to you. But that was my offering for today. My offering was to get you to think that how you approach healing, how you approach your life, how you approach your vision and your purpose in life is not necessarily when you achieve the things that others have, but when you can sit alone one day at home and feel okay with who you are. Not because you're like, look what I've achieved, let me count all these things, which they're probably there. I'm sure some of these things will be there, but maybe not all of these things, or not to the extent that you wanted them to be, right? And we always want more, but what if there's moments that we can actually find that bliss, those moments of bliss, where we need nothing more than what is in the moment. We don't want nothing from the past to change, nothing from the present to change, nothing for the future to bring. Just be and exist. And I think that would be the true experience of having a great childhood, being able to be worry-free in the present time and express yourself, your authenticity, and your gifts. That's all for me today. I'll see you guys soon.